Good everybody, it's Batman, and today we're going to be doing a very interesting topic, at least that I thought was interesting. A lot of people discuss Kimimaru in OG Part 1, Part 2 Naruto, of him going against all kinds of people. And we're referring to Sick, by the way, not full Prime. Prime is a monster. What's it called? But when it comes to Sick, a lot of people actually discuss him. You know, they discuss tons of matchups. The most common one that I actually hear about is like Sasuke versus Kimimaru, and things like that, etc. And people have also done videos that way too. But and we've also seen Lee against Kimimaru and Naruto, so we've had plenty of interactions with the Genin squads, etc. Those line of scaling and whatnot. So one thing we came into thought and what we're really put into consideration, because I'm gonna be honest, I could look it up on YouTube, but I highly doubt anybody has really put this topic into consideration, but of retrieval arc NEJI against basic Kimimaru. We'll give our thoughts on CM1 and CM2 as well, but let's be real, like that should kind of just be a given or obvious of what that would come out to. But regardless, we will talk about that, but that'll be towards the end of the video. We're just going to simplify things. We're going to go over Kimimaru first. He's just the most simplest and easiest to understand, very straightforward and simple. Then we'll talk about NEJI, because NEJI is the more complex. His scaling, there's different ways you can scale him, basically, in a nutshell. And that's a whole other contentious element. And I don't want this video to be too long, so we're not going to go too crazy on that. I've had plenty of explanations with NEJI. I've had just recently a video released, does NEJI deserve more respect? You guys should check that out. Put that in the link in the description down below if you want to try to get him pretty high or understand or what ways to scale him higher. But we're gonna look over Kimimaru first, and I do have a special guest with me, featuring Ken as well. Just like as always, he's been in other previous videos. His YouTube will be in the link in the description down below as well. So make sure to check him out, and I'll have him featured in the title as well. Basically, before we get into anything else, we're going to start with Kimimaru. So I have his, as you can see, his character biography profile pulled through, and his charts for what he can do as well. And so that basically these symbols right here, even though they are Japanese, there are English translations as well. They can equate to speed, power, strength, etc. And that whole thing is interesting in its own sense. But that is what you have with Kimimaru. As for his stats, pull that through right here. Almost done, Ken. I always forget what this dickhead is.
Who, Neji?
No, Kimimaru, his stats, because he's right in mix between in the sound forward text channel thing.
I think he's right below the young spider guy.
Yeah, I found him. Yep.
Oh, beautiful.
Alright, so with Kimimaru for his stats, and mind you, we're not saying this is blatantly, concretely, or definitively, or anything like that, guys. Obviously, when it comes to Naruto, it's a very ambiguous topic, and it's very contentious, and you have to read statements and look at feats in order to understand what it could potentially be portraying to. Because unfortunately, Kishimoto doesn't just be like, oh, his ninjutsu is a 4 because of this and this and this. You know what I mean? He doesn't say any of that. He doesn't give the reasoning. He just says ninjutsu, and that's all we got. We just kind of have to play a guessing game at that point. It's not like some Dragon Ball Z shit where they give you a scanner and say his power level is 10,000. So. But for his stats, his ninjutsu's 4, taijutsu 5. It makes sense, bones and everything. He's really, really strong with that. He's a taijutsu specialist as well. Genjutsu 3, that could either be resistance or maybe he knows some genjutsu. Intelligence 3.5. So that's pretty interesting. And we know he's decently smart. I wouldn't say he's crazy smart like Shikamaru and probably maybe not even on the Spider-Man dude's level. But then again, let's be real, he did fight a Kage level opponent with Orochimaru. You know what I mean? So I don't think he'd be really dumb to where he could be outplayed or fooled. You know what I mean? So I do think he has decent level enough intelligence to even still go along calibers like Kage level opponents or Jonings, etc. But surprisingly, it is less than some of the other Sound 4, which is interesting. Then you have his strength, which is 3. That's interesting. Maybe that's just with his body, but obviously his bones, that would be probably maxed, like 5, some shit or more. Speed, 4.5. Stamina, 4.5. Hand seals, 3. So what do you think on that overall, Ken? Do you have any problems, or what do you think that more likely pertains to when it comes to his stats?
I think that's more pertaining to like his base stats.
Yeah.
It's probably not taken into like his bone enhanced capabilities as well.
Exactly.
We know that his KCM2 spear was able to like cut through like halfway of Gar's ultimate sand defense.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's basically what you have from there. As for the next thing, we will talk about when we first basically get an introduction of KIMIMARO. And basically, what happens is when he kind of pulls up on Naruto and Shikamaru after they successfully get the barrel from I'm over here like having a fluke moment or whatever from the fluke girl. So, and basically what happens? Let me pull that up for you guys right here. So basically, he appears and he has some crazy stealth because Kishimoto in the anime it's emphasized, but in the manga it shows the question mark and the exclamation mark. So whenever there's a question mark, that basically goes to show people are like, huh, I really didn't know you were there, some type of shit.
They're confused.
Yeah, they're confused. I mean, if there wasn't a question mark, then they would just have the exclamation mark, and they would know he's there, but and basically it would move forward. So he comes out of nowhere, all stealth and shit, and even Shikamaru's like, oh fuck, and he just kicks the barrel, immediately gets it, flies over, and he does all this before they can even move or react. You know what I mean? He's clearly on a different level when he's presented originally, and that's the first interaction you see, and then he basically tells the fluke girl that I am no longer move using flesh, I use the power of my mind. And he just tells her, I'm only letting you live because you're useful right now. Otherwise, I'd kill you myself. So clearly establishing that he's over the Sound 4. You guys should already know this as well. Even the anime shows him beating all 4 of them at once while they go full power, and he only uses CM1 bare minimum. That's what we at least see. Otherwise, I would have just said probably even in base he destroys them all. But to be generous, CM1 bare minimum. What's it called? And maybe he didn't even have to go to CM1. He just did that as a precaution. We don't know, because that's probably a full power KIMIMARO. I don't think that was sick. Maybe not. We don't know, but there's only so much we have. But either way, then the next interaction we see with him is obviously against Kyuubi Naruto. And this is interesting. This is actually a really impressive feat because, pretty sure as we're all aware, most characters that fight against Kyuubi Naruto get their ass whooped. They're getting their ass whooped. Movies, anime, manga, you name it. So Kakuzu as another example. So Baby Juice, remind you. He appears. KIMIMARO doesn't seem phased at all. He's like, oh, some trash showed up or whatever, loser. Great, cool. Naruto summons right as you can see here, thousands of clones, bro. And then stacks a Kyuubi cloak on top of it. Basically the Kyuubi cloak that Naruto does against Neji, but just without, the full-on Kyuubi face look and everything. So, he's Kyuubi full mode, face and everything, has a chakra cloak on top of it, and then KIMIMARO just straight up destroys them all. Destroys them all, bro. That's just insane. That's a pretty crazy feat. Another thing as well from here, this is KIMIMARO saying his bone density is maximum density is hard as steel. This is no ordinary bone. Now this is interesting. I'll let Ken talk about what we just discussed with everything with Kyuubi Naruto and also the bone. But what are your thoughts on the whole bone, density, what it's durability, whatnot? Do you think that's hyper literal, or do you think that's more of a figurative explanation where he's kind of just explaining that, oh, it's just really hard and really powerful? You know what I mean? It's not like normal bone. What do you think on that?
I don't think it matters too much. It's either hyper literal and it's as hard as steel.
Yeah.
Or if it isn't, we know that ninja have been able to break other kunais with kunai.
Mm-hmm.
Since those are metallic, you can argue maybe they could be made of a steel-like substance, and therefore his bones would actually be harder than steel. So either way, his bones are extremely impressive.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, he was able to use them to pierce through some of Gaara's sand-based attacks. which are
Exactly.
stated like the ultimate defense. Were able to help like block like Gaara's hits, not Gaara's Lee's hits early on.
Exactly.
As far as him defeating Naruto's QB clones, that's extremely impressive as well. These are the same clones that even Naruto was like, yeah, I can't even fight this guy like this, and that was a weaker Naruto. So
Exactly. So basically, that's what you have with Kimaru. Then after that, basically goes. Naruto goes back to base because he gets relaxed. He's getting calmer after seeing Sasuke, and he's trying to tell him to come back to the village. And Sasuke laughs at him and just runs away. And then while he was distracted and kind of having like a mental nerf moment in a way, Kimaru like immediately gets behind. He's about to kill him. Basically, he doesn't have enough time to react or anything. And Lee comes out of nowhere and lands a kick on Kimaru, which is pretty impressive to be honest. Because when he lands the kick in the anime and in the manga, remind you, he basically, what's it called? Literally, like, is in front of him. He's not behind him. He's not, or anything like that. Like, he literally goes in front of him. It's kind of similar to, like, what Kakasu did to Kakashi. When Kakashi was going to charge a hit on and thought he was dead or whatever, or, wasn't aware of him, and he goes to charge, and then Kakasu gets in front of him and then lands a kick. So, meaning Kakashi could still react, or probably would still try to do something, but he wasn't able to. I mean, he just didn't have enough time because it was a moment where he just didn't expect Kakasu to attack. And it's the same shit. So however you want to go with that, some people say, oh, Kimaru's just off guard, so that doesn't count, or, and immediately just default to that. Or some people be like, yeah, that's a fair hit. Like, he got a hit. Kimaru should have been able to interact. He saw him in front of him, whatever, blah, blah, that's it. You guys can take it as ever you want. But either way,
well,
I just wanted to bring
Lee hits him like 3 times, so you're being
Yeah.
just generous if you say that he only got lucky the one time.
Exactly.
Because in Naruto, you can get lucky one time, but you don't generally get lucky 3 times in a row.
Exactly. And this is what I'm referring to, guys, right here. He's clearly in front of him. You know what I mean? Look at Naruto. Naruto's like looking the other way still and like completely lost. Like, what the fuck just happened? Kimimara's, like getting blown away and then gets launched across. And then Naruto can look and he has like, look at that. 2 exclamation marks and a question mark. So Lee moves so fast that Naruto was just like lost. And then Kimimaro just got, bodied in a sense right there and then. So at the end of the day, I think it's a legit hit. And just like what Ken was saying, it's further established to where Lee does get 3 more hits afterwards. And in the manga as well, Lee is also like fighting and going like blow for blow with him. Like, they're clearly on a similar level. And like, I'm just gonna show it here. Like, he jumps, he's kicking. Like, he does like all these moves. He does these moves against him. Like, nobody's like fucking speed blitzing and whatnot. They're clearly on a similar level. And Lee is just tagging this man. And mind you, this is base. And also, he also lands a hit on CM2, Kimaru. Now, this is interesting. You could probably be like, oh, maybe Kimaru just didn't care and he could have dodged it because he is aware of him. There is an exclamation mark and not a question mark next to it. So he is aware, but he's like, I'm so strong. Like, why do I need to be, like, give a fuck if he kicks me? So he probably just didn't move. Or Lee was still fast enough to land the kick. But, you can take
There's one more way of scaling you can look at that further solidifies the fact that Lee would be relative, because Gar was also able to react to Kimimaru as well on multiple occasions.
Yeah, with his sand,
on
CM2, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we know that Lee, even if you want to say it's just the sand, we know that Lee scales relative or slightly above the sand anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then just to further solidify the hits, guys, this is him hitting him there, hitting him there, hitting them there, and hitting them there with an uppercut. So the first round goes directly to Lee. But the second round, though, Kimimaru does start predicting his attacks now, and he even roasts him. He's like, oh, your attacks are too direct. And he's able to get the advantage by, like, adapting to his fighting style. And then when he's about to basically beat him, then Lee's like, oh, let me take my drink, and it goes into the whole drunken fist thing. So that's what you have basically overall with base Kimimaru. And another thing, lastly, for base Kimimaru, and this is also really important as well, he was forced to use CM1 on Drunken Lee. In order to do it, you can literally see the curse and his bones coming out, and he hits Lee right there. And he was also forced to use CM1 when Lee uses Gate 1. Okay. And that's also extremely impressive. And I will show you guys that skin as well. Okay, and I'm going to bring this up too before I even show the Lotus to force him to CM1. And a lot of people forget this. Lee is severe, like, very weakened. Like, he just came out of the hospital. He just came out of surgery. And Gaara says verbatim that your moves before when we first fought were faster and sharper. So he's not even at full power and not even at full speed, you name it. And he's still performing all these feats against base KIMIMARO, which is really impressive. And he says here, like, I just got out of surgery. I can't go too crazy, but maybe I can open one of the 8 inner gates. If it's just the first one, the gate of opening, it should be okay. And then he does Force Lotus. You know, he's going around with speed, whatever. And then he comes in front. And then right here, he lands the kick. And Lee's like 2 exclamation marks and question marks. He's really surprised that, what's it called? It didn't launch him in the air. And he's like, oh, and he's like, man, his bones absorbed the impact of my kick, showing some durability feat of his bones. But once again, he had to use CM1. You can clearly see CM1 activated because all his bones come out of his entire body. Like that's how you know he got scared. Because this man, like, doesn't just activate it in his chest. He activates it all around just in case, and then says impressive speed, but it stops here. And then does, like, his tornado bone dance speed move and just, like, starts fucking him up with all his bones. And then that's when Gaara comes to save the day. And when Gaara comes... go ahead, Ken. What do you have to say on that, by the way? So I apologize.
Well, I was going to say, because another thing that's interesting about it, because if you go back and look at the fight, there's parts in the fight, even with, like, second Lee,
yeah,
where he uses the fact that he can force Lee to back off in order to get an advantage. Meaning he's actually afraid of getting hit by Lee and what those strikes can do to him.
Exactly, because if he, let's say, like, he couldn't be hurt by Lee or he couldn't be defeated or anything, why would he go to CM1 and absorb the impact of the kick? You know what I mean? Instead, he would have just got hit, right, and just tanked it and licked his lips. Or if he thought he could even tank whatever Lee was going to do, he would literally just, like, get launched in the air and then get hit by a Lotus and just get back up. You know what I mean? Like, and that wasn't the case. Yeah. Like, KIMIMARO is a very smart fighter. So the fact that he saw Lee go into first gate, he clearly felt threatened enough and had to resort to using the curse mark to absorb the blow. Otherwise, he would have been fucked. You know what I mean? So
another thing, sorry to interrupt you. Another thing to keep in mind that a lot of people sit there and go, well, he might have done it on instinct. But you got to keep in mind at this point in time, KIMIMARO was dead set on getting Sasuke to Orochimaru. It would have been better for him to catch up with Sasuke in order
to help him, to fight Naruto, like get rid of these people as quick as possible, and then go help Sasuke, and then this way, no matter what, he gets to him, you know. So
yeah, so for him to sit there and say like he would waste any time or any movements, especially since he knows he's sick and dying, on something as stupid as like just blocking some attack he can take, is just really stupid.
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. So you got to give respect when it's given to Lee. But mind you, this video isn't about Lee. But the reason why we are discussing this, 1, it has to do with base KIMIMARO. 2, it actually does correlate to NEJI when we get into NEJI scaling. And 3, you know, like once again, we got to just show all the evidence. We have to show it for everybody. We're not going to be stereotypical or biased or, you know, be the particular percentage of people or whatever that just think, you know, otherwise and yada yada yada. And so, yeah, and then this scan right here, this is referring back to what we were saying before. Gaara says this verbatim. You know, he's like, and then mind you, KIMIMARO is still in CM1, and he fires, like, his bone fingertips to finish, like, Lee, and then Gaara comes and saves him, and you know, blah, blah. And Gaara's like, when we last fought, you were faster and sharper than this, and then Lee's like, thanks for reminding me. You know, so it's like, come on, guys. Like, you can't deny the facts, the evidence. You're being completely ignorant and dismissive or dishonest if you're just going to say, oh, that's all bullshit, or try to just argue your way out of it, or some semantics bullshit or whatever. It's just not okay. Like, you can't do that. So, but that's really important. That's all we have for KIMIMARO. So now we're going to get into NEJI, who's the more complex side of things, and we'll try to keep this as short, as concise as possible, because I can be here all day talking about NEJI. But basically with Retrieval Arc, and we're going to talk about NEJI overall. So obviously the most impressive showings that are relevant for this fight is his interactions with Naruto, and the interactions obviously in the Retrieval Arc. So with Naruto, we all know how that fight went. He dominated Naruto. This is not up for discussion. A lot of people try to downplay Neji and say he was like relative, or or Naruto was giving him a run for his money or some bullshit. Like, it's just blatantly dishonest. And like, as you can see from here, like, Naruto summons all of his clones. Okay, even Kiba's like, close combat's a bad idea. Do not do it, Naruto. And Naruto summons all his clones, whatever. All right, and literally like just a shit ton, remind you, like a ridiculous amount. Okay, and he just shits on all of them. He's just no different them all effortlessly. And then eventually he like speed blitzes Naruto. Like, he uses full speed, charges in, hits Naruto. Now, I'm aware that Naruto was using that as a decoy and did that on purpose as a diversion. But even while creating an opening to try to catch Neji off guard, Neji is still able to react and use his rotation and just completely defeat him all the way. And then basically, Neji's like, yeah, you're a bitch, whatever, you're a loser. And not only that, this right here, this moment, guys, that I'm showing you on screen, Neji had plenty of opportunities to end the fight. Like, you literally see Naruto at his mercy on his knees in base, and he can't do anything, and he's just struggling. You know what I mean? And obviously, because Naruto's stubborn and doesn't give up, he's always going to get back up, and Neji is just letting him get back up. You know what I mean? So for us to sit here and be like, oh, Neji, like, just is way weaker than Naruto, and blah, 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 and fucking, Naruto's just that guy, that's just completely ridiculous. But what do you think of that,
Naruto only won that fight because the plot needed him to.
Yeah.
If you look at the actual fight, the only time Naruto hits him is when Neji thinks the fight's over.
Exactly. So, basically, I'll just show that just real quick for you guys, so that you guys don't think I'm like bullshitting or whatever, yada yada. Because I know there's always gonna be people. Look at all these clones. Just look at all these clones, man. He's just dodging it, dealing with it effortlessly. And he's like, and then he just gets by them all. Like, it's not up for discussion, guys. Like, you're really, really being dishonest at this point. And then he eventually,
even if we want to be stupid about it and say like Lee and Neji don't get any stronger.
Yeah.
Gaara does, like you said earlier, he's just stated to be slower than he was when he Gaara. And that Lee, like we've already pointed out, was able to fight Kimimaro to force him into his CM1 state.
Yeah.
So even if we say Neji doesn't get any stronger, he actually scales to theoretically that Gate 2 Lee, like I was talking about with you earlier.
Yeah.
Meaning, if Kimimaro was any chance of even beating this Neji, even in the tuning exams, he would need to at least rely on CM1.
Exactly. And then not only that, the most impressive showing is him combating against Nine-Tails Naruto. And this is impressive. Yes, we're aware Naruto doesn't have the red eyes, the spiky hair, the sharp teeth, and the pigmentation on his whiskers or whatever. But he's still using QB chakra. And in the data books, it stated that Naruto mastered the power of the QB, but it's an incomplete form, and even Hiruzen states verbatim in the anime and manga, when did he master the power of the Nine-Tails? Okay, and it clearly gives him a significant amp to where he's actually now equal with Neji, which is extremely impressive, because if you refer back to what Ken was saying, now this QB Naruto is over here on par with this Neji, okay? And this is the only time Neji's like concerned, because he's like, what the fuck? Like, he just got strong out of nowhere and defied like the 64 hits, So like, and he's just also confused because Neji doesn't know what a fucking Jinchuriki is. He's never seen a tail beast, So imagine you having the fucking Byakugan and seeing some fucking monster inside of somebody that's screaming at you as well. And Naruto's like, fucking getting a crazy amount of chakra all around him. I would be a little concerned as well, So it's not an anti-feat, it's not a downplay. A lot of people try to use that as some bullshit excuse as well. So just want to kind of put that out there. And I'm just going to show all the scans really quick to where, basically he fights. And then Naruto says here, this power, it's incredible. It's so much stronger than when I was training. So meaning this power bare minimum is also stronger than when he used all his Nine-Tails chakra to summon Gamabunta out of all things. Okay, that is also impressive. Because he's clearly referring to when he was training, not when he was fighting in the Forest of Death or the Haku fight or anything like that. So the chakra is very strong, okay? You name it. Clearly here shows him he's fighting. Neji's reacting with his rotation and whatnot. Neji's reacting with shuriken throwing. Neji even says he's quicker than before. What in the world is going on? He's literally combating against Naruto at equal speeds. So it's in all categories. So I don't want to hear the excuse, oh, he can only fight him because of rotation. That's bullshit. So he's over here fighting equally. As you can see, all that. And then basically, the fight continues. He does rotation very late. He doesn't even do it on time. He does it extremely late because Naruto was giving him the talk no jutsu and he was having like a nerf moment. And Naruto's talking his shit, and then Neji right here, 2 exclamation marks, says, no, the rotation, I need to start it. And then Naruto goes to throw a punch at him with his Kyuubi chakra. He does his rotation against it. Big explosion happens. Neji does take a good amount of damage from it, but he still gets back up, and he talks his shit, and then he gets hit by an off-guard hit from Naruto. This is blatantly off-guard. He doesn't have his Byakugan on. He thought Naruto was defeated and everything, and then he gets one shot by by Naruto. So that's generally how the fight goes. So once again, it's not an anti-feat. It's not bad look or anything like that. A lot of people like the rat or bullshit. It's blatantly shown clear as day to where he's at. And if Neji didn't underestimate him, and let's say this was retrieval arc Neji, where he would have a mindset to not underestimate people either, he would have won the fight because he still would have had his Byakugan on. He would have dodged Naruto's hit, and then bam, hit him, and the fight's over. Okay, so the plot demanded it. There was many variables that even led up to that situation to begin with, because he could easily not even let that happen. And because he was, underestimating the whole time, etc., that's why it even came to be that to degree. And not only that, even if we were using an underestimating Neji, he's not going to underestimate KIMIMARO because Neji is able to sense people's prowess in a way. He knows when they're the real deal. You know what I mean? That's his whole fucking shtick of knowing whether if you're a loser or if you're a genius. So that also wouldn't help you either. But do you have anything else to add to that, Ken, or no? I'm pretty sure.
The only thing I can really add to it is it's similar to what you were saying a minute ago, where Neji would underestimate KIMIMARO. Just looking at KIMIMARO, he has this aura of dangerousness.
Yeah.
And even then, interacting with him one time, he'd be able to figure out that KIMIMARO has such a powerful KKK guy. And he would just aim to knock down his chakra points. And again, the only way KIMIMARO gets out of that is with the curse mark.
Exactly. So, and another thing to show, to solidify the scaling further, and this is just tuning exams, remind you guys, and Neji does get stronger, actually, because Ken did bring this up before, that even if you want to, Steel Man or Grant, that Neji doesn't get stronger, which is stupid. The data book stats actually support that. There's 2 versions of Neji. You have tuning exams Neji, and it has the growth chart and his stats for him. And then you have retrieval Neji that has another growth chart stats and those particular stats separate from the ones before. So he clearly does get stronger. His stats increase overall, and now he doesn't underestimate people and takes everyone seriously and respects them. Okay, so overall, I'm just putting that out there. I will also show that as well for Neji. But before I show that, I'm showing this really quick. The reason why, with everything Neji does to base Naruto is impressive. Okay, he is able to kick V1 Gaara in the face while he has that one tail out and the one arm, and he makes Gaara bleed. Now, obviously, I'm not saying Naruto has enough AP to break through sand armor. Obviously, he probably didn't have sand armor on that face where he was bleeding from. That'd be dumb. So that's just further solidified, throughout anyways. But when Gaara goes to V2 to fight Naruto, and mind you, this Naruto is getting severely nerfed. He's having a mental health crisis. He's literally thinking can I really beat this guy? He's just like me. He's a Shinjuki. He has no one. He's the opposite. I could have easily turned out. He's freaking the fuck out. Okay, but he's still willing and basically forced to fight him because otherwise Sasuke and Sakura would die. And this is before he even has a mental amp. Okay, but he does 4 doppelgangers, sends them at Gaara. Obviously, Gaara is dealing with them at ease, but he keeps summoning Shadow Clone to create openings and to maneuver around them, basically. And literally, basically he starts launching forward, you name it, gets behind Gaara, okay, right here. And mind you, this is V2 Gaara, fully transformed, but mini version. And then he lands a kunai, the Kakashi technique, blows him up, and lands a blow. And then Naruto tanks a full-blown hit to his face and bleeds from it. And it's fine, and he says kaboom, and it blows up. So the fact that base Naruto, with a shorter amount of clones, could even land a hit on V2 Gaara without a mental amp as well, which is base stats, okay? And arguably also nerfed and fatigued because, he did just fight Neji as well. That is insane. That is a feat. And mind you, the same Neji shitted on this same Naruto at full power with a tremendous amount more clones. Okay, so you have that as well. All right, and then another thing that's also really important is obviously when Naruto gets his mental amp, that's when he does the 2K shadow clone feat. That's when he's like bullying Gaara to oblivion to where he's forced to fully transform. But that's irrelevant because that is a mental amp thing, whatever. So we're just going to ignore that. But either way, what's it called? I just want to kind of put that out there for Neji too. Do you have any thoughts on that as well, Ken?
I don't have any thoughts just at the moment. I think you said everything that needed to be said there.
All right. And then last thing, we see Naruto do the QB chakra thing again like he did against Neji. And he does it again. He's able to break out of Gaara's grab and then headbutt Gaara with so much power that he made Gaara bleed. And you could argue maybe Gaara had sand armor on his face there, but maybe he didn't. We don't know. But possibility.
You don't know when he was in the partial transformation?
Yes. Well, no, not partial. When it's towards the end of the fight where he headbutts him and makes him bleed and it ends his full Biju transformation.
Oh, no, he didn't have that there either.
Yeah, so it's, you can
because he was using all of his sand to restrain Naruto.
Exactly. So you could technically argue either way, but it's probably more, like I said, still fair to assume that he didn't have sand armor. And it is what it is. We just don't know. It's a contentious element, unfortunately. But bottom line, if you don't mind, real fast. Sorry, yeah. We do know at that point in time, Gaara was so weak that he could barely move. Yeah, that is true. Like he was getting fully exhausted. So. And another thing, just bringing this up because once again, guys, this is the same QB Chakra Naruto that fought Neji, and the fact that he can resist Gaara's sand restraints, you name it, and still land a hit is impressive. Which meaning you could arguably, theoretically, that Neji could do it with his chakra as well because he's literally performing against this same Naruto. So just want to kind of put that out there. Either way, you guys take that however you want. I don't care, but I'm just appealing overall and to let everybody know. Another thing as well, last thing is you have obviously the whole Naruto on the rooftop with Sasuke. He fights, he bullies Sasuke with all his shadow clones. Sasuke is forced to do Chidori. He does Rasengan, we know how all that goes. Naruto is over. This scan also shows Sasuke just admitting verbatim he just can't beat Naruto, blah blah. It shows the QBI Naruto as well, yada yada. So just want to put that out there. That just determines that line of scaling and chain. So now we're going to get back to what's most important, okay? So, which is aka Neji. So with all that being said, the final thing we can say for Neji is we also have scaling, and this is in the beginning of of the preliminary tuning exams, okay, to where it is stated that it requires to reverse the Lotus, meaning up to Gate 3 bare minimum, to be able to defeat Neji when it comes to Lee. And Ken did already mention this before, so I just want to put that out there. And there's tons of statement as well for Neji's taijutsu just being superior than their taijutsu. It's all stated, you name it verbatim. So I just kind of want to put that out there as well. And then Kakashi also even admits that a person like Neji, even his own Sasuke would not prevail, things like that, etc. Kind of comparing those two and whatnot. And then another thing as well is the Bakugan's also stated to be greater when it comes to perception and penetrating abilities. And that makes sense because, once again, he has like 360-degree visions. He can see all around him. He's able to see everything before it even comes at him. It's kind of similar to what Sasuke does with 3 Tomo and 2 Tomo. You know what I mean? If you have precog and you can see things before they happen, that gives you more time to react and combat accordingly and effectively. It's the same thing, when it comes to Neji. And it's just like, basically, it's just that simple. Let me find that scan real quick. Right here. So, but it says, but in its penetrating perceptive ability, the Bakugan surpasses the Sharingan completely. So I'm not just making things up. Like I said, guys, there's plenty of statements for Neji of how ridiculous he is. I just wanted to kind of put that out there for him. And you name it. Another thing as well, I shouldn't have to entertain this, but I'm going to do it for the sake of the video and for all the weirdos out there. When it comes to the rotation, okay, we do know it is stated verbatim to where it basically he can anticipate all of his opponent's attacks, blah blah, with the Bakugan, yada yada. And when an attack comes, he can do rotation. Before the attack reaches him, he emits a large amount of chakra points all over his body. halting the enemy's attack with a cocoon of chakra, and then he moves his body in a circle like a spinning top, repelling and reflecting the attack. Basically making him like untouchable and he can't be hurt. And what's more impressive about that is normally chakra that is emitted from the chakra points to is even difficult to jonin, okay? Because they can only emit it from either a single body part at a time, like the hands or feet. So this man could do it all over his body and release a large amount of chakra. Okay, and I remind you, his rotation or his like chakra is so strong to where he didn't even do rotation on Naruto. Okay, he just used a wall of chakra to block the attack, and then there was an explosion. Okay, and he attacked with his force as well. Okay, because remember, it says right here, okay, when he uses, but the instant before an attack reaches, he emits a large amount of chakra points all over his body. That's what he did to Naruto. And then, okay, he repelling and reflects the attack. Okay, so it's like a two-step process. He moves his body in a circle like a spinning top. So the fact that he can even block Kyuubi Naruto's attack just by using a wall of chakra and that's it, and using that force alone, and not even like rotating and you name it, okay, and whatnot, is just ridiculous. So meaning, if he does a full rotation, okay, he's repelling and reflecting the attack, and it's even more stronger. Okay, meaning arguably, even if Kyuubi Naruto did hit him, if he did the full-on rotation on Kyuubi Naruto, he probably would have tanked that attack as well, and Naruto would have been fucked. So I just want to kind of put that out there. If you have anything to add to that, Ken, as well, you can. But now I'm going to just get to the final conclusion of things when you're ready.
Sorry, I don't have anything to add as well. I think, once again, like the other one, you went over what you needed to.
Absolutely. So I'm going to also show the stats because, like I said, guys, I don't just make up things. So this is Neji in the tuning exams. As you can see, Taijutsu, Ninjutsu, Seal, Stamina, Speed, Strength, you name it. All this stuff goes around. You see these dots. These are the levels of it. So it goes all the way up to Taijutsu. That's what him in the tuning exams. It even has his stats as well. What's it called? His highest stats is Taijutsu's a 4.5. That's even more than Kimimaru. Ninjutsu's 3.5. Genjutsu 2. Intelligence 3. A little bit less than Kimimaru. Strength 2.5, but that's fine. He doesn't resort to strength. He resorts to basically hacks and taijutsu. Speed is 4, so it's a tiny bit less than Kimimaru. What's it called? Which, that's interesting to be honest, but that's more than likely equating to like his base speed overall. If he does like full speed with chakra control, and you name it, then he's basically good to go. And that could also be interpreted with a certain level of speed, whether if it's combat, reaction, whatever. Obviously, his travel in combat is very, very high. So just
when we look at the speed for the speeds, I'm pretty sure that it's talking about specifically combat speed. Yeah. Like how fast they can launch their jutsu, how good their taijutsu strikes are, and all that.
Exactly. And then another thing, this is the second growth chart where he clearly gets stronger, and we also see him training throughout all this entire time. You can literally see it right here in the scan as well. Okay, he's training before the tuning exams, he's training before the preliminaries, he's even training before the retrieval arc, and then gets into the retrieval arc. He's training at all times, and the chart even shows it, and his stats right here, and you name it. So he clearly gets stronger. It's not up for a debate either. Just want to kind of put that out there. But either way, overall, basically what everything solidifies, guys, is, the simple thing is the only way you can argue for Kimimaru to beat Neji is if you think Neji just can't scale to Kyuubi Naruto, period. If that's the case, then Kimimaru slams. If you think, Neji can do to fight Kyuubi Naruto, and then most importantly, if you analyze the gate scaling with Lee and compare Lee's, a performance against Kimimaru, you name it, etc., and all that, and you connect the dots, Neji's scale is to gate 2 bare minimum, okay? It will require gate 3 to beat Lee. Therefore, if Kimimaru doesn't use CM1 or CM2, he loses in base. He gets hit by the Gentle Fist. I shouldn't have to explain this, but you guys should know how the Gentle Fist works. It targets your chakra networks and your organs. It's stated verbatim that you cannot defend your organs or do anything about it. It's just Kimimaru is just going to be dealing with the inevitable. He's not going to be able to use his jutsus. His chakra is going to be getting shut down. He can control his shit. He can also hurt his organs, you name it. And Kimimaru is already sick as fuck and on his deathbed. So if his organs are getting fucked, like, he probably goes down and from one hit. You know, like what do you think on that, Ken? But like, I'm just being legit. You know.
Well, another thing we have to keep in mind, and a lot of people, and this is a statement a lot of people tend to ignore for some reason.
Yeah.
It's just flat out stated by, I think it was Micah who says it, that even like a scratch from a gentle fist will leave you from the safety.
Yes, and I'm actually gonna show those statements just for you guys really quick because like I said, I don't like just saying things or then dealing with people that I'm just making shit up or whatever. But basically, right here, it's stated actually. Lee says Neji's the strongest in Taiji, blah blah. And this is right here where Guy explains like how it surpasses their level of taijutsu, you name it.
So like a good way, while you're looking at that, a good way to think about it is imagine if instead of brute force, when Lee had like kicked KIMIMARO's arm, he had like instead of just putting a bruise, he shut down his chakra network in that arm.
Yeah. I'm trying to find it real quick. I know it's here.
KIMIMARO's whole thing is being able to defend himself with his bones. He now has an entire spot where he can't defend himself.
Yeah.
And even that is also stated that technically they can strike vital organs and all that with it. So not only can he shut down chakra points, he could theoretically shut down entire like nervous systems.
Exactly.
That's the thing a lot of people tend to sleep on with Neji is not only can he shut down your chakra, if he gets lucky, he can shut down your brain, your heart, whatever he needs to. So one good strike is all he needs.
Mm-hmm.
So even for the people who want to sit there and argue that Lee got lucky with that one strike, that's all Neji needs is that one lucky strike. I don't know how you feel about that, though, if you think I'm capping when I say that.
No, not at all. That's completely understandable and reasonable. I don't know why I could have sworn I had this. There's no fucking shot. Hang on.
And for the people who think that he did do it against Naruto, therefore he can't, like Bash was saying earlier, we know he's just being extremely cocky during the exams. At any point, he actually could have just beaten Naruto. Exactly. The only reason he didn't was plot.
And then right here, before I show those things that we just mentioned, Kankuro is even extremely scared of this guy. Like, this man says, like, you think he hadn't even been harmed, that he still had hidden reserves of strength, but that Neji guy, we've got to start planning ahead to prepare for the final rounds. Maybe I should gather some intelligence and see a way to how to deal with that dude. Like, even Kankuro is getting worried about this guy. And mind you, Gaara is on his team, and he's worried. And Kankuro is the first one to immediately be biased for Gaara and think he's, like, unstoppable, whatever, blah, blah. If Kankuro's getting worried, there you go. And Tenten also states verbatim, however you guys feel about this, that Neji's defense, is a greater defense than Gaara. It's that it's even more powerful than Gaara's. Okay? So there you have that as well. You know what I mean? And if you connect all those dots, you name it, it's just as simple as day. What's it called? But yeah, just kind of want to put that out there. But let me show it because I would have to look for it. But another thing for the video, guys, this is also important. It's also stated that Hinata, because she was so mentally amped, that she was like in a similar level with like Neji as well. And they were kind of like going blow for blow, which is like kind of an impressive showing. She was like relative to him. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there too. That Hugo, no joke. So right here, basically, she says, did she get him? And Naruto's like, no, it's just a scratch. And then right here, but this is Lee saying it, a scratch is all it would take. That's why the Hyuga clan is often regarded as one of the most, illustrious family. Okay, so I did have the scan. I was just missing where it was. I'm an idiot. But either way, guys, it's right here. That's when they talk about it. And then Guy further enables that notion that Lee's saying by talking about it and saying why it's better than their taijutsu style, you name it, and blah, blah, etc. And then Kakashi even tags along and enables how broken it is and saying there's no way of strengthening the internal organs, so any enemy struck with that blow is going to succumb, basically. So once again, we're talking about KIMIMARO, who literally is like already on his deathbed, super sick. If he's getting hit by that, which he will, and he will get fucked up. It would be the same situation that basically happens to the Spider-Man dude. Even the Spider-Man dude said, I just close combat's a no-go. In base, he was getting bullied. He went to CM1 and had to immediately retreat at a distance and say, I just can't fuck with him. You know what I mean? So even with the curse mark amp, it wasn't enough. Then when he goes to CM2, that's still not enough, and he's running away and still admits he can't fuck with him in close combat. And we do know bare minimum KIMIMARO like fought the Sound 4 with just CM1, and while they all went full power. And another thing, lastly, is Spider-Man dude says he's the first to drive me this far since KIMIMARO. So you have that correlation from NEJI to Bone Man as well. That doesn't necessarily mean he scales to like CM1, CM2, or Prime KIMIMARO. I'm not saying that. But it's still a correlation in the fact that NEJI has the fighting power and strength to push him that far, if that makes sense. And I'm pretty sure you would agree with that too, right, Ken?
Yeah, for the most part, I do.
Yeah. And lastly, guys, this is also important for NEJI. It took for NEJI and Guy to restrain Drunken Fist Lee. We do know how that all went. Drunken Fist Lee beat up base KIMIMARO, and he was forced to do CM1 to wake him up. This picture shows it right there. And right here, it's stated it took NEJI and me, the both of us, to finally be able to overpower Lee. So it's like, come on. You know what I mean? Like we're just being really, really dishonest to downplay NEJI or you guys for you to think we're just making shit or bullshitting. And even the Spider-Man dude, while in CM1, he says he's fast and the number of strikes has doubled. Another thing, Retrieval Arc NEJI also gets more palm strikes, where you can go from 64 to 128, and he gets faster. So he has 2 levels of palm speeds, which is just ridiculous. You know what I mean? He has the first level that can, just shit on people, whatever, blah, blah, whenever he uses it. And then he has a second level to where it's even faster. And even the Spider-Man dude acknowledges it. So, NEJI is just no joke, guys. You can't sit here and downplay him. You can't bullshit. You can't deny the evidence is there. And in conclusion, even towards the end of Naruto, when everything's finally over, NEJI says right here there has to be more further up until I can see all the way, and he's continued to train and train and train. So overall, I feel like that would best establish this video for the time being. Apologizing for it being a little bit more longer. I was trying to get it really short, but I really wanted to kind of dissect NEJI in a way as well, because a lot of people just really don't understand him as a character, in my opinion, and are quick to shit on him if we're not talking about like Naruto or Sasuke. NEJI and Lee are really, really strong, and people just need to accept that, especially in OG and Part 1, Part 2 Naruto. And then most importantly, obviously, I did promise to talk about it. If KIMIMARO goes CM1 or CM2, NEJI's fucked. You agree with that, right, Ken? He's just fucked.
I think he could probably fight CM1 KIMIMARO. He probably loses, but I think you could give him run for his money.
Okay. And I'll agree with that, too. That makes sense, because, if you even analyze, Lee with Gate 1, to where, he stops, and everything, blah, blah. We know he scales to Gate 2, bare minimum. And if he's over here, he has constant Gate 2 scaling, basically. You know what I mean? While Lee only has, for a certain moment with just Gate 1, and then eventually if he uses Gate 2 to, reboost all his stats and you name it, and to counter the after effects of Gate 1 and shit.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
One of the things that a lot of people, if you don't mind, people tend to forget about NEJI, because a lot of people think that he needs to get in close in order to take out his opponents. He actually doesn't. If you analyze his fight with KIMIMARO, he's able to grab onto his webbing in order to transfer through it.
He could put that through his sword. Yeah, imagine if he grabs it and sends his gentle fist through the bone and just gets his ass off guard. That's what I'm saying. Dude.
Well, one of the things NEJI could also do is if he tries. So you know how Rock Lee goes to kick KIMIMARO, forced to back off. NEJI doesn't have to do that because he doesn't have to rely on the brute force of his hits.
Yeah.
So he can turn his punch into grabbing one of the bones correctly, and then send the chakra through that.
Exactly. And another thing too, guys, the bones might maybe catch him once, maybe off guard from CM1, maybe a scratch like it did at the Lee or whatever. But NEJI would be able to still react, and he could also use his chakra to block the bone attacks, which it would block it. If Gaara can do it with his sand, he can do it with his chakra as well. And technically, if we really want to be, highballing NEJI, it is stated for him to have a greater defense than Gaara, meaning therefore his chakra would scale over the sand. So yes, definitely would block the bone attacks that hit him. Now, I don't think that shit's blocking a CM2 drill spear attack, you know what I mean? Or not even rotation, probably. You can make arguments for it, but no, it's not happening. But fucking anything else, yes, he would. So it's still a good fight, and it could still maybe even go in Neji's favor, especially once again if he lands the Gentle Fist, you name it, in CM1, and that's if we're like granting Kimimaro CM1 right off the whip, okay? But like I said, I don't even think it gets that far, especially how Kimimaro is in character. He always starts off in base and only uses CM1 if he needs to, yada yada. But once again, when we talked about base to Neji, he's just not using it, which is why he would win, why we think that. If he does use CM1, let's say whether if it's in character or if it's straight in CM1, it's going to be a good fight. It can go either way, but if Neji lands some hits, he's fucked. Because now he can't use his Stalker, he can't use his Curse Mark, and he's just fucked. You know, so, and he's also getting hit with his internal organs, and his body's already fucked up. He doesn't need any more damage, you know? So, basically, it'd be high diff for CM1 if Neji wins, or he would lose high diff, base to base, obviously Neji with Bakugan to base stick Kimimaro, he wins no matter what. So, that's it. Better than that, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts down below. Subscribe for more content, subscribe if you love the channel. And, as always, guys, just remember, this is Naruto. It's a fictional anime. There's no reason to get super serious or butthurt or angry or anything like that. If you have disagreements, there's nothing wrong with that. And if you also ever want to debate me or Ken or anybody on my server on any type of Naruto topic, you're always more than welcome to, or specifically even this one. It's totally up to you guys. I don't have a problem with it either. But as always, you guys have a great day. Batman out. Peace.